My name is Kiarie, and I'm a young lawyer from Kenya. Currently, I'm working as an international advocacy officer for ATD Fourth World, and I'm based in Paris at the moment. And ATD Fourth World is a non-profit international organization, and we collaborate and partner with families living in extreme poverty across the world. We are now currently in 33 countries. ATD Fourth World in full is all together in dignity. So we work with families to give them back dignity, which in most cases is deprived from them. And when you talk about birth registration, which is a gateway to an identity or legal identity, you find that birth registration is a very difficult process for families living in extreme poverty. And we ask ourselves, what are the reasons as to why this process is still difficult? Number one is lack of knowledge, as most of them, they live very far from big cities where there is a lot of information. Sometimes they live, they don't have the literacy, they are illiterate. So they can't read documents, and they cannot fill forms, which are essential in this process. And as well, we have something called social and institutional maltreatment, where families or people living in extreme poverty, they've been betrayed for a long time. And that's why they are afraid of institutions. And in this case, we need to build trust. And trust takes a long time to build, and trust is important for them to regain, to believe in institutions. And as ATD Fourth World, we are currently in 5 countries: Senegal, the Central African Republic, we are in Tanzania, and Burkina Faso. And we've been working on this because birth registration is linked to many other things like health, access to health and education. And this is what has inspired us to have projects around this topic of birth registration. ATD Fourth World has been for the longest time in Burkina Faso, and we have a project with the streets, children living in the streets in Ouagadougou. So the reason as to why Ouagadougou has many street children is because most of them, they come from the rural areas coming to look for greener pastures in the city, or because Burkina Faso currently is experiencing a lot of wars and terrorism. So children are moving to the cities to get some sense of security, and as well to look for food and other necessities which separates them from their families. So we have this project where they come and we welcome them. We give them some sense of belonging, and we give them skills. You know, you can do something with bronze, you can do masonry, carpentry, in a way to prepare you to go back to your family, because in Africa or in Burkina Faso, birth registration begins from the village, where you can only be identified. You have an identity when you are in your village, and once you leave your village, you lose your identity. So everything starts from your village. So as ATD Fourth World, we prepare these children to reunite with their families, but we instill in them skills to make them feel that they are still worth it and they can give a contribution to their community, so that they can get to start the birth registration process, and then from there they can get an identity. Because birth registration is the key or the door to other rights and to access other services like education, health, yes, etc. So another thing in Tanzania as well, there is a project which was Education for All. It was a literacy class for adults, which inspired the project of birth registration for the children. Why? Because during that time is when parents got to open up and say that their children are not going to school, or they are not sitting for their national exams or being enrolled, because they lack the documents, which is the birth certificate, meaning making it that birth registration is very crucial and very important. So with that, ATD Fourth World, in collaboration with the families, they went to schools, and they had a dialogue with the principals or the heads of schools on how they could best ensure that the children from these families, because they come from Tandale, which is a impoverished neighborhood in Dar es Salaam, how they could continue with their education. There was a dialogue between the families and the teachers in the education, in schools or in the education sector, or the officials of the education sector in the neighborhood, and the ATD Fourth World volunteers. They had a dialogue on how they can ensure that the children have the document to continue with the education. So they had an agreement that the civil registrars, they will have an awareness campaign in collaboration with all the stakeholders who are the parents, and as well ATD was to be involved, and they went around the neighborhood of Tandale, I think 6, Tandale, Boko, there were 6 areas in Dar es Salaam, making the parents aware on the importance of birth registration. And as we are speaking now, that has been ongoing for 8 years, and a lot of children have been registered, and as well some of the adults who didn't have the birth registration, the birth certificates, they have it due to this collaboration. So it is important for government, civil societies, and the families, especially families from impoverished neighborhoods or families experiencing poverty, to work together, you know, and to achieve the 100% birth registration in different countries.